Yeah, so we have coming up now Maria Martinova, who I think is based in New York, although I think she's originally Russian, who's come to talk to us about probiotics in yogurts and also to talk to us about the MicroBites initiative. So we'll just wait a few moments to see if she can join our call. I think it's taking a little longer than normal, but we'll see. But yeah, we're going to sort of have a look at some other uses of microorganisms in what could be your breakfast. So probiotic drinks, yogurts, and so on, all require microorganisms. And I'm trying to think what other breakfast foods. Well, I mean, yogurts. There's a particular kind of yogurt here in the Netherlands called quark, which is a very thick yogurt, which again is going to have its own fermentation process. And obviously, cheeses. I mean, what I love about cheese is that it can be made by so many different microorganisms, and yet we still call it cheese, even though it's kind of an entirely different organism working around it. What is your favorite cheese, Michael, if you had to pick one?
Oh, that's really a hard choice. I don't want to choose because cheese is really, but I really like the mountain cheeses from the high mountains that are really old and you know.
Yeah, okay. Do you mean they've been matured for a while or they have been, yeah. You see, again, I think it is hard to choose a favorite cheese, but one I've really got a lot of love for is Comté from France. Very like nutty, hard, delicious cheese, really full of flavor. You can taste the salt crystals in it. Maria, can we hear you? I think you might have to unmute, but you've joined us.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, how is it going? Are you in New York? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Let me just get us up on screen. Briefly before you begin. And yeah, thank you again for joining us so late in the day in New York. I believe it's nearly 2 a.m. there.
Yes. There's a lot of light around me, so it seems like it's a day.
Yeah, fantastic. And well, you've come to talk to us about probiotics in microorganisms. So yeah, I will give you the floor, as it were, and let you begin. So if you just want to share your screen,
of course,
you can give us a little introduction to probiotics, and we'll have a little discussion at the end. And you're welcome to begin.
But I mean, great.
Fantastic.
Okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to start my presentation with a little bit introduction about myself. My name is Maria. I am an editor, writer, and translator in MicroBites, and I hope we're going to have time to talk about MicroBites and what I'm doing. But what I'm going to be talking about today is probiotics and yogurt and the truth that hides behind the label that you see on the pack of probiotic yogurt. So before we dive into probiotics, I created this infographic to talk about history of yogurt, because it's truly fascinating how, you know, long ago it was created by accident, I think, and we're still consuming it up until this day. So I think, as I said before, I think it was created by chance. It was an accidentally discovery during Neolithic period, because there's an evidence from ancient pottery showing that people in that period of time were using pots to store milk. So obviously they were aware of milking cows, and they had cattle. So it was pretty, easy to figure out. But the real history of yogurt starts in Middle East, when herdsmen were keeping their milk in goatskin bags that were hung across their camels' backs. And while they were traveling, the heat from the camel's back and the juices coming from the bag, they're all contributed to the fermentation process. And, the stories about nomadic tribes traveling around the deserts reached Rome, and Pliny the Elder, who you could call a journalist, mentioned yogurt in his notes, saying that nomadic tribes knew how to thicken the milk into a substance. And Turks were aware of medicinal uses of yogurt. They were using it for treating illnesses and symptoms such as diarrhea and sunburned skin. And a funny story, my grandparents, they would use sour cream when they had burned skin, because, it heals burned skin. Yogurt was used as a cleaning product and beauty lotion. And going forward in time, yogurt made an appearance in Europe only in 16th century, 1542, and it was brought by King Francis I, who was suffering from diarrhea, and it was believed that the yogurt cured his condition, but as we know now, probably did not cure, just alleviated the symptoms of diarrhea. But it was 16th century, so people believed a lot of things. And in 1904, a scientist by the name Elie Metchnikoff developed a theory that aging is caused by the activity of toxic bacteria in the gut, and lactic acid bacteria that were found in yogurt could potentially prolong life. And he made this observation by looking at people who lived in Bulgaria, because they were pretty young, they looked very young, and they consumed a lot of yogurt in their diet. So he kind of, made this conclusion, and we're going to talk about Metchnikoff a little later. And in the 1930s, Daniel Carasso started a yogurt company that later became Danone, world famous company. And pretty much from 1930s, yogurt became commercialized, and people had access to it. They could make their own yogurt at home, but they would also, like the variety. And today you could go to any store and you will find different types of yogurt, different flavors of yogurt, whatever you like. So let's go back to my presentation, and we'll talk about probiotics in yogurt. So probiotics definition of it is, let me just do this, okay. So probiotics is, probiotics defined as live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. Pretty much any organism can be probiotic, but it's a really tricky definition, because in order for an organism to be defined as probiotic, it has to go through many, many stages of identification and defining properties, health properties. But usually usually it's considered Lactobacillus, genus Lactobacillus and genus Bifidobacterium are considered as probiotics. Probiotics must be alive when administered and must have documented health benefits. Now, when I talk about health benefits, it either means drug type effect or food type effect. And drug type effect means, for example, alleviate symptoms of diarrhea. So it's something similar to when you take a medication for diarrhea, for example. And health type benefits, for example, it helps your immune system to fight diseases. So does it mean that everything is a probiotic? The short answer is no. The long answer is absolutely not. It does not mean that everything that has some sort of bacteria in it means that it's probiotic. A lot of people think that probiotic equals live active culture, which is not true. Live active cultures are used in fermentation, and unless those cultures that are used for fermentation define as probiotics, these two things cannot be equal to each other. Same with native beneficial bacteria. They cannot be really native, because probiotics usually taken orally through yogurt or through medication. So they're not really native to our bodies, but they are greatly digestible. We readily, unless you're lactose intolerant or any other condition that you have, but probiotics usually easily digestible in our bodies. And probiotic must be defined, and it's a really long process of defining probiotic on a bacterial species, on a genus species. Plus, if a scientist decides to say that certain bacterial strain is probiotic, so it means it has probiotic properties, this bacterial species needs to be added in an international bacterial collection, so other scientists would be able to reproduce the results that the first scientists received. So it's a really long process. So this is a brief history of probiotic history, timeline of probiotic history. We can see that probiotics came to play around 160 years ago. Roughly, it's 1857. Pasteur was experimenting with lactic acid bacteria. He determined the fact that lactic acid bacteria contribute to spoilage, spoiled food. And then a lot of scientists started diving into this topic. Lister in 1878 isolated lactic acid bacteria from milk. Mechnikov, the one that we were talking about, described Bulgarian bacillus associated with health. In 1930s, after commercialization of yogurt, Japanese microbiologist Shirota isolated a bacterial strain that was called Lactobacillus casei Shirota after him. But then the name was shortened, and Lactobacillus casei is still used in fermentation processes when making yogurt. And then from 1930s, up until nowadays, people really started diving into the whole topic of probiotics. In 1953, Koloff but he used the term probiotica. 1965, definition of probiotics. 1989, Fuller defines probiotics. And only in 2001, which is only 20 years ago, World Health Organization gave the official definition of probiotics. And then in 2003, when people started applying genetic tools, sequencing bacteria, all that stuff, the first genome sequence of a probiotic bacterium was done only in 2003. So it's 18 years ago. Knowing that lactic acid bacteria were known for 160 years, and only 18 years ago, they actually started to, sequencing stuff. That's interesting. So I would like to quickly talk about yogurt market in Europe and the US because it's quite interesting. I grew up in Russia, so I'm really familiar with Europe yogurt market. But in the US, it's quite interesting to see that not a lot of people consume yogurts here. They consume a lot of cheese, that's for sure, but it's not yogurt and definitely not a probiotic yogurt. Pretty recently, people became more aware of health benefits that yogurt has, and they started to consume Greek yogurt and regular dairy yogurt. Top brands in Europe are Danone, Lactalis. I think that you're more aware of them than I am, but even in the US, Danone is something that people consume. Chobani is a very interesting brand that we're going to talk about in the next slide. And leading market in Europe is Germany. And in the US, it's New York State and California. These two states consume the most amount of yogurt, so they produce the most amount of yogurt. So what is interesting about Chobani, when you go to their website, is the amount of product that they have. If you look at it, they have zero sugar yogurts, they have milk, they have yogurt, they have creamers, they have fermented plant-based drinks, aka probiotic. They even have cold brew coffee, which is a lot. And what is interesting about this brand is that it takes 45% of the whole market, of dairy market in the United States, which is a lot compared to the previous brands that I talked about over here, 45%, and the rest is shared by these three brands. So what is interesting again about this brand is the way they advertise their products. They have a great variety of products. They're very appealing to an eye. They write this really big labels. Oh, this is a probiotic yogurt, like here, peach mint flavor. I haven't seen really a lot of those in the market. They have very colorful bottles, and it's just interesting to see the marketing of it. So based on the marketing alone, there was this study done in 2012. And the goal of the study was to determine what makes a consumer buy dairy products, because they're heavily advertised, and obviously people buy them for their health benefits, but they also buy them because they're advertised properly. So it was determined that individual attitudes and beliefs towards health have become important factors in food purchasing and consumption decisions. And these are components of the belief of the model called health belief model. It was proposed by Eugene Rosenstock in 1990s. He was a social psychologist who studied consumer's choice, and he studied why people tend to choose certain things out of the whole variety on the market. And it turns out there's many reasons for milk consumption and yogurt consumption. HBM believes, oh, I want to be healthy. that's why I consume yogurt. Or, oh, I think that food plays a great role in my diet, so I will be consuming yogurt, so I will be healthier. Or people who believe that they don't consume enough yogurt, for example, they are willing to pay more for additional nutrition information and vitamin enhancement in yogurts. For example, additional calcium. Sometimes you see on the package, oh, it has additional calcium, oh, it has billions of bacteria. And people who don't do their research and maybe who don't know a lot about probiotics in yogurt tend to buy it. And there are many more other reasons listed in that paper for why people buy certain products. And what is interesting is, despite the advertisement and proclaimed health benefits, do probiotics actually work? Because for probiotics to work and be considered as a probiotic, it has to survive the transit through gastrointestinal tract, acidity in the stomach, recovered from feces usually, because that's how bacteria are extracted for analysis. And all of that should happen in a pretty short amount of time, because bacteria tend to, disintegrate in the body. So if you want to really see how viable it is, it has to be distracted fast. So there was this study done in around 2010 where a group of volunteers was consuming yogurt for 7 days, and at the end of the experiment, there were these two bacteria extracted as Thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. These are the most commonly used bacteria for fermentation processes, especially when someone makes yogurt. So they concluded that since they were consuming yogurt and it has those bacteria, and the bacteria that they extracted were alive, it means that it works. Which is true, but it has a lot of discussions around this topic of how beneficial, or actually like how powerful probiotics are when they're consumed from a yogurt. So great variety of controversy. I'm going to talk in the last couple of slides about two products by Danone, Activia and Actimel. I think that you guys are familiar with it. Again, when I was living in Russia, that was my chobani. I would always get a bottle of Activia because it's easy to carry around. It's, good for my body, all of that stuff. On the bottle, you can see it says billions of live and active probiotics. People tend to buy it because they don't really know what a probiotic is. They're not really familiar with the concept of probiotics. So, as I said, Activia is a brand of yogurt classified as a functional food by Danone company. Danone developed a specific strain of bacteria called Bifidobacterium animalis, and it's marketed by Danone under the trade names of all of these bacteria. So if you go to a store and you decide to buy a Danone product, you're going to see all of these bacteria listed on the label. But I think that if you're going to buy a dairy product, a yogurt, for example, from a different brand, you're not going to see this bacteria. So they're very specific to Danone products. And in 2003, the probiotics market was worth almost $10 billion, which is a lot of money. And right now it's been 18 years. I think now at this point it's worth so much more than $10 billion because people tend to, take care of themselves more, and they prioritize diets and healthy eating and clean eating. And it is a fact that Activia, because it is advertised as functional food, it costs more. On average, a bottle of Activia costs $2 more than a regular yogurt because of this Bifidobacterium animalis that was developed by Danone. But obviously there's controversy around this. There were a lot of lawsuits around, actual health benefits of probiotics. 2010, Federal Trade Commission said that Activia packages are deceptive. Danone exaggerates proposed health benefits. 2008, class action suit accused Danone of mounting a massive false advertising campaign to convince consumers to buy Activia products. I don't want to take sides here. Obviously, I'm just reporting what is known, but I was really surprised about reading about this stuff, because I would never think that someone would, say, oh no, it's not true what's written on the label. The other product, Actimel, also the known product, it is advertised as probiotic product. And it was invented in the 1980s when Danone took the first steps to develop a fermented milk based on Lactobacillus casei. We talked about it, the one that was created by Shirota, not created, discovered by Shirota in 1930s, all that long story. And then it's claimed to have benefits ranging from reducing the incidence of diarrhea to the improvement of immune function. Obviously, when you hear this combination of a probiotic and then benefits and then reducing the incidence of XYZ, obviously you want to buy it. Even British Medical Journal 2007 said that Actimel could help avoid antibiotic-associated diarrhea. We all know, antibiotics have a tendency to disrupt our gut microbiota. So obviously the sales for Actimel skyrocketed because no one wants to deal with consequences from taking antibiotics. But again, there's a controversy around it. Alexa Mayer, who works in the Department of Nutritional Sciences in the University of Vienna, compared Actimel drink with a normal yogurt and found no significant difference in the effect of Actimel and normal yogurt. Moreover, she said that if a person would regularly wash their hands, take care of themselves, exercise, eat healthy, and consume normal yogurt every single day, that would have exactly the same benefit as Actimel. So you don't have to spend extra money on Actimel drink because you can get it for free, just by taking care of yourself. But again, another controversy in 2005, a group of scientists said that there is a measurable health effect, measurable health benefit linked to the presence of live Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus in yogurt. So it's really hard to say where the truth is. In my opinion, I just want to say my last words: eat your yogurt, do your own research, do not solely rely on advertisements. If you would like to choose a yogurt for your special health benefits, for example, you want to improve your digestion, maybe you have to look up for some interviews with dietitians and nutritionists, and they will help you to choose the right yogurt brand, or maybe will help you to learn how to study the label on the yogurt. And that's it from me about yogurt.
Well, thank you, Maria. I hope you're doing okay over there, because it is now 2 a.m. But it does mean that you're in International Microorganism Day, just about by a couple of hours. So congratulations, happy International Microorganism Day. And thanks for delving into the murky world of probiotics, because I guess it's one of those situations where you have big business, but also perhaps quite a useful supplement. So there's always going to be a bit of back and forth between the truth, but also there is a lot to get out of it. One question I had was, why don't Americans eat that much yogurt?
That's a great question. I really don't know. I think that because it was not as common here, I don't really know. Like, they are big on cheese and big on other dairy products, not yogurts. It's really became a very recent thing to consume yogurt.
Yeah, okay. So it's more of a cultural thing. It's like a new trend rather than an old way of eating.
Yes. I would say that maybe, immigrants, they would make their own yogurt, but it wasn't as commercially available and people would not pay as much attention to it as it is now. They would consume smoothies. I mean, not smoothies, milkshakes.
Yeah, okay.
But,
the American milkshake is quite an icon. So we have 5 minutes for our next guest comes. So I just wanted to know if you wanted to chat about the MicroBites initiative in our final few minutes.
Yes, that would be great. So basically, there's a group of people who love science, or love microbiology, and they want to write about their research, and they want to, tell people about microorganisms, and this group is called MicroBites. I am writing articles and editing articles, and I'm also a translator. So I fluently speak Russian, and I am trying to reach Russian audience by translating articles into Russian. But there are a lot of other languages available: German, Spanish, French, um, that people could, explore more in different languages, which I think is great. There's a lot of undergraduate students, graduate students, people who are getting their masters and PhDs, and who just want to share their knowledge about bacteria.
And so we have all of these blogs. Do you have any other output from the initiative? Do you ever have events, or is there a MicroBites meetup that ever happens?
No, there is our internal MicroBites meetup, because the last time we tried to have a meetup, there was problems with internet connection, and we got really upset. So we're looking forward to it, and we're going to be discussing new stuff that's coming out. So probably after that meeting, we're going to have something interesting.
Okay, great. And what's your plan for International Microorganism Day? When you wake up tomorrow, how are you going to celebrate?
I'm gonna, I don't know. That's a good question. Probably gonna get probably gonna eat a bowl of yogurt. I have this beautiful new yogurt that I bought, and I'm dying to try it. So can't wait.
And what brand of yogurt's this one?
Oh, there is this store called Trader Joe's. I don't think you've ever heard
I've heard of it. I've never been.
Oh, no. Okay. So what I like about it is that they sell their own produce only. They don't really have other brands, and they have their own yogurt. And as a microbiologist, I studied the back of the yogurt.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I really like it. So.
But any good species in there that we should know about in this yogurt?
I would say Lactobacillus casei. That's the one that, usually stands out. I also take probiotics, pills, individual every single day, because I don't think I consume enough yogurt, and I don't want to pay extra money for extra nutrition in the yogurt.
Fair enough. I've just seen our next guest arrived. Maria, you're welcome to hang around in the call for the discussion at the end, but I appreciate if you need to sneak off because it's late in New York.
I might have to, yeah.
So thank you so much for coming and giving us such a good overview of probiotics in yogurt. I hope I get to eat some yogurt today, and have a fantastic time. Sleep well and enjoy International Microorganism Day.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
No worries. We'll hopefully do some blogs or something for IMD and MicroBites crossing over somewhere. That would be really cool.
I will pass it by.
Yeah, awesome. Right.
Thank you.
Bid you farewell. Have a fantastic International